back to Purple Noon, a podcast with Stephanie Conti and the gorgeous Savanna Lanausse.
You know, I was telling my husband, I'm like, you don't even talk about me like this. Hi, guys.
So, not only are you being welcome to the podcast, but you are being welcome to Purple Noon, the game show. Zach, if you are listening to this right now, cue in some music. It's going to sound really lame if you leave the spot empty.
Just me singing, yeah.
And now we clap. Thank you, Zach. Thank you for the audio. All right, Savannah, are you ready? You are currently at question 29 with a whopping 0 points.
Okay, I'm ready to redeem myself.
And for those who may not know, this is the famous pickup line trivia. So I'm going to be asking her various pickup lines, or at least once a day, a pickup line from a movie that she most likely will not know because I don't know either. So here is your pickup line. Oh, shit. It's a script format. Hold on. Joe states, I always have liked redheads. Cassie replies, you shouldn't. Red means stop. Joe retortles. Is that a word? Retortles? I don't know. Responds, I'm colorblind. So it's I have always liked redheads. You shouldn't. Red means stop. I'm colorblind. What a pickup line.
All right, I'm going to need a hint again.
Okay, would you like the year, the director, the actress who plays Cassie, or the actor who plays Joe?
I'd like the year.
1940, not a silent film.
Joe and Cassie. I'm
going to be honest, like I looked at this and I saw Joe, who plays Cassie, who's the director. I'm like, I've never heard any of these people in my life.
Okay, so I'm definitely not going to get it.
Just give me a title. Just give me, you know what? Give me a cheesy sounding 1940s movie, like a romance movie.
You know, the funny thing is I just bought on Blu-ray one of my favorite movies from the 40s, but I know it's not that one. You ever heard of The Best Years of Our Lives?
I've heard of it.
So that came into my mind, but I'm like, no, that there's no Cassie in that movie. So unless I just don't remember. So that's kind of that's my guess. That's the only thing I can think of right now. The only other one I thought real quick was Rebecca, but that's not it either because it's Rebecca. So yeah, I'm going to have to pass. I don't know.
And what was your wager again?
100 because I got burned last time with 200. So
well, I'm afraid you're going to be burned again because it is not any of your guesses.
I figured.
It's a movie called They Drive by Night. I don't know who they is, but it's called They Drive by Night. And it stars George Raft, Ann Sheridan, Raoul Walsh. And it came out in 1940 by Warner Brothers.
Who directed it?
Raoul Walsh.
Don't know. Would have never guessed that, so I don't feel so bad.
I'm looking at these people on the cover, too, of the card. I have no idea who they are either. But okay, so come on next time when you try to get it next time.
Watch me fail again, guys.
Hold on, let me take a little sneak peek for you what the next one is.
At least tell me if I have a chance.
No. God, no, you don't. I think it's foreign. All right, well, better luck next time. Now, for what you guys came here for, the podcast part. Could you imagine someone was just like, no, I only came here for the game show, and just signed off at 4 minutes?
Hey, at least we have a viewer. We have another viewer, even if it's just...
So, Savannah, why don't you introduce us our film today and what we're going to talk about?
Okay, so today we're going to talk about a movie called Three Faces. It is our first Iranian film. Iranian. It's Iran, right? That's how you say
Caribbean, Caribou, it doesn't matter.
Okay. So basically it's about a well-known actress. She's left completely distraught when a girl sends her a video for a cry for help. And the video is kind of blaming her. So basically her and her filmmaker, I think it's the person she makes films with, they go to this rural land, this rural town, this village to go find this girl and sort of see what's going on. And they kind of learn what what's going on with these young girls that want to do entertainment. So it was directed by, hopefully I don't butcher these names too bad, Jafar Panani, Ben, Bez, oh,
Hold on,
Banaz
let me help you out.
Jafari.
It's Jafar Panahi
Panahi, okay.
and Benaz Jafari.
All right, I'm sorry, guys, for that. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
But it's actually a pretty recent film. It came out in 2018.
Mm-hmm. And it also won. So this guy, Panahi. Sorry, I have to sound it out every time I say it. Panahi. So he's known in the Cannes Film Festival realm, and he actually won Best Screenplay for this film. So he won in 2018 for Best Screenplay.
It was nominated for something too.
I think it was also nominated for like the big prize, the Palme d'Or.
Yes, it was. Yeah. So very, very prestigious awards coming out here, guys.
Yeah. So, all right. So before we get into the spoilers, Savanna, would you, if someone came across this movie, would you recommend that they watch it?
All right, guys. It's gonna be a little different than before.
Uh-oh.
I like the meaning. I like what it was trying to say. I really do. And I think if you were trying to learn more about the entertainment industry in Iran, if you were trying to learn more about like what just really goes on there, what is happening to these young girls, definitely. I think the beginning of the movie was awesome. It really catches your attention, and we'll talk about that later. But I did feel like it was an educational film, and for me, that's kind of all it was in a weird way. And not that it was a bad movie. I think, they did a fantastic job for something that was so simple. It wasn't anything grand. And I was very impressed of what they did with that. But it's not something I would rave about. And I know that sounds crazy because it was nominated Best Screenplay. It's just not something I would be like, yeah, like this, I saw this movie and it was great. It didn't strike me. It didn't strike me like that. So I would recommend it under some clauses.
Like a proceed with caution type of deal.
Like if you
can
want to
watch
learn,
it,
if you want to learn about this, and it's great for this and that. But if somebody's asking me, like recommending me a foreign film, recommending me like Middle Eastern cinema, like that wouldn't be my pick.
That is fair. I feel similarly. I think this was a good film, and I think it was good because it was simple. It's a very, in my opinion, it starts off a little more, like Savanna said, it has like a very good pull into the story, but overall it just kind of ends simple. And I don't mean that in a bad thing. I do think it's a good film, and I enjoyed it because, like Savanna said, like she would recommend it for educational reasons, and in a way I would too, because it gives you a glimpse into a lifestyle, at least as an American, I say I've never got to see firsthand. So, and like you don't really hear stories or see movies that come from a nation like this, the nation of Iran. With that being said, too, this movie is also banned in Iran. It was made in Iran, and it's also banned in the country. And a lot of that director's work is banned in his own nation.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. So, and, I was thinking about it, too, because I think it's really good in, how do I say, in kind of normalizing the idea of Iran. And what I mean by that is, for someone like me who's grown up and, you hear only about the war. You only hear about all the conflict and everything go on. It was really surprising to see a film like this being made there. And I don't know, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for that reason, where it was very educational for me in watching it. And I did enjoy it. It was overall, I'd say it was a cute film, but I don't see even many people enjoying it as much as I did. I could see people even raving more, because it's like I can see the whole appeal of the structure of this story and what it means. But for me, it was just a good movie. It wasn't anything more, but it wasn't anything less.
I agree. I think I like what you said about like, you know, we don't really know a lot about that country besides what we see on the news. So I think watching films from places like that, it opens our eyes. And I think that's important. I think that's one of the reasons, educationally wise, I think everybody should see it. So you can kind of expand your mindset on that.
Yeah, and I think even for, because sometimes certain foreign films don't translate as well into different cultures.
Right.
Like, I definitely know I've come across a few foreign films that just I couldn't relate to because it didn't necessarily translate it. But I think this is pretty a universal film. I feel like it can just be applied, and like many people could watch this and relate to it.
Absolutely. I agree. So what did we're probably going to jump into the story, and we can't really start without spoilers because there's a sort of a spoiler at the beginning, I guess you could say.
Like a big turnover, like a big portion of the plot is relied on what's going on in the first 2 minutes of the film.
Which
So
is
Savannah,
which
you
is
want to do
crazy.
a recap of that intro?
Yeah, sure. So basically, the movie starts with this young girl making a video about what's going on in her life, and she's very distraught. And she's saying, you know, I always wanted to be an actress. My family said I could go study at the conservatory if I do this and that. And basically, they kind of tell her if she gets married, you can do that. And that's her big dream. And basically, when she does get married, she's kind of tricked and she can't do that anymore. So it's just her talking to the phone. And we find out she is sending this to a famous actress in Iran. And she's like, I tried to reach out to you. I tried to reach out to you, but you never answered. So the end of the video is this young girl committing suicide. And we find out that the actress is the one watching this in in a car, and she's completely distraught and just doesn't understand what is going on. Because I thought it was interesting that the first thing that the actor says is, I never heard from her. There is nothing. I checked. So what did you think about that opening stuff?
I thought it was, and I even wrote in my notes, I was like, that's a strong beginning. And
Yeah.
from such a strong beginning, I wasn't expecting more so a lighthearted film that it ends to be. But it was a very strong beginning, and it definitely did a good job at like, okay, I'm reeling you into the story. You're going to want to stick around and see what happens. Like, I thought it was brilliant how that was done. Because even though, like, because to be honest, if it didn't start that way, and if we weren't doing the podcast, I probably wouldn't have continued finishing the movie because it just the rest of the plot seems kind of airy, if that makes sense. Like, just kind of seems a little too lighthearted for what I was expecting from this film. But it was a real strong beginning, and it really captured your attention. So I was happy that it started off strong.
I was really excited when I first watching the movie, not because somebody committed suicide, because it was so most of the movies we watch do have slower beginnings, almost all of them. And when I watched this one, I was like, oh, wow, that kind of caught me by my attention. I want to know what happens. So I was kind of disappointed to see where the story went a little bit.
I think because I thought so. Eventually, it is revealed. So, spoilers, it is revealed that this girl didn't kill herself, that it was a stage to get this actress to her town so that way she can talk to her and go and somehow convince the, parents, whatever it may be, or to bring her to this conservatory to study acting. Now, I thought that was a good plot point. And I thought what should have been explored more is because in that nation, from what I've known to be, obviously what they portrayed with the villagers going like, oh no, she can't be an entertainer, and like them like downplaying the career of an actor. I wish there was more turmoil between this girl and her family. Like, there were some points that was made about the brother, that the brother was so aggressive that the brother's gonna like beat her up, ruin her, embarrass her, like whatever it may be. And I kind of wish, for the sake of the story, it went to that route, because in the end it kind of just felt like this young girl did this whole staging thing for nothing.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I was disappointed with the sort of the ending of the film, where it was going, because I agree. Like, the whole beginning of the movie is kind of them trying to figure out, like, is this fake? is this real? And
Mm-hmm.
I really like that whole point. And when you find out it's fake, you're kind of like, okay, like what happens now? And really nothing. Really nothing happened now. So I was disappointed when, because in my opinion, like nothing in that sense was resolved.
Yeah, I had almost wished that with a plot like this, that the first and middle stood the same, where it's like you found out that so this girl commits suicide and then you find out it was staged and she didn't. I wish there
Right.
was that turmoil, like maybe with the brother. I wish it kind of had an ending where it was not so much implied, but it was absolute fact that she kind of takes this young actress under her wing. I thought that would have really ended with almost a similar power the film started with.
Absolutely. I just don't think we got resolved as an audience watching, because even though this girl does a really messed up thing, you don't want her to stay there. You kind of want her to be like, okay, like the actress to be like, okay, come with me, even though you tricked me, even though you embarrassed me and made up a whole thing. I need to get you out of the situation. And we don't get that. And I don't know, it was this disappointment to me.
Yeah, and
Definitely.
it kind of, at first I thought they were leading up to that.
Yeah.
Because, and also what a great scene was when let me see what her name is again. Jafari, Madame Jafari, as they called her, she just starts wailing on the girl, like, how dare you, how dare you. I thought that was such a great scene when she's like beating up this little girl but I mean, she deserved it, in my opinion.
Imagine like you're an actress, you're doing your thing, and then someone sends you this video saying a girl killed themselves because you didn't answer. You weren't there. And from what we can tell about the character, I don't know if she would necessarily gone to the town, but like I do feel like the character was the type of person to be like, okay, like I need to do something to help this person. And I think that's kind of her conflict. Like, I didn't do anything and this person killed herself. And that's why she goes to the town. And when she finds out this little girl was just acting, that's a normal response, because that's emotional trauma at that point.
But and then so she like wailed on her and was like, I want to go home. I want to go. I'm done here. Let's go. And then at one point she ends up going back and sees her. And that was when I was like, okay, she's going to take her underneath her wing. But that's not what happened. It was more just like, okay, hey, I'm going to turn you home. I'm going to ask your parents nicely. Don't beat her up. Don't be so upset at her. And then while I'm leaving, this girl I assume it was her because I couldn't see her face. I'm assuming it was her. She runs for her as she's leaving the village. And it just kind of ends there.
Yeah, that's not good enough for me. Like, I know what they were trying to do, and they did a really good job of what they wanted. But like, for me, it wasn't, and I feel really entitled, but it wasn't the ending I wanted, and I didn't feel resolved.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think for me is that even though it was powerful in the beginning, it did trail off in the middle.
Yeah.
So because it did trail off, I didn't care to a point of how it was going to end because that power didn't remain.
I mean, it was 30 minutes of them just getting to this town.
Yeah.
So I understand, like, because at some point I was just like, this is kind of excessive, but yeah, I think they could have done a better job at resolving the issue and giving us like, okay, like it's either she's going to help this girl or this girl's going to go back and accept her fate. And I think I think either one of those endings would have been very powerful.
I agree. I definitely agree. One of the things though that I did appreciate about the movie was I did enjoy how it was filmed. Like, I enjoyed when it was being filmed, the car scenes, because it's tough to film in a car. And the fact that they were able, like, just technologically speaking, I appreciated it because you had this full rotating camera in this car, and I was even looking in like the reflections of her sunglasses, and I was like, I want to see the rig, I want to see the setup. So I thought that was very impressive because it is tough to film in a car like that, especially in the scenes where she's getting out of the car. You see her kind of walking in the back towards the trunk, and then it comes full circle again. Like, I enjoyed the way it was filmed. It was very simple, but it was still like, ooh, okay, there's a little bit of complexity in these
Yeah.
simple scenes. But that's just coming from I guess you could say, a technical standpoint. What
I
did
do
you
want
think?
to get your, because I feel like in this podcast, like everyone knows you're the director, and I feel like we should talk a bit about what you thought about the directing, technical standpoints, because those things are important too. And I don't know a lot about that stuff. So Stephanie, what did you think about the directing itself?
You know, it was simple. And I say that, like I've been
Mhm.
saying about this movie, in a good way, because it's simple. And although it wasn't the outcome we wanted, in all the little details, in all the little angles, you can sense a sense of care for this film. Like, it
Absolutely.
wasn't filmed, pardon my French, but it wasn't filmed half-ass. It was a solid effort, and you can tell. And even so, the director of this film is also the main lead, Panahi.
Yeah.
So you can tell that this meant something to him within the angles, within the characters, within all of this. And that's why, because if this was, I hate to say it, but if this was a standard American blockbuster, I would have not liked the film. But there was a sense of appreciation in this film from the director. And for me, I could feel it in the angles. I could feel it in, as hippy dippy as that sounds, I could feel it in the angles. I could feel it in the choices and how he chose to show these characters. And one of the things I noted was the simple scene of, but I have to keep looking at her name on a paper because I'm so
Yeah.
afraid of butchering it. Jafari, Madame Jafari, when she gets out of the car and she's going to the back of near the trunk area, and she's just kind of walking around, and you see her contemplating. I enjoy moments like those, because to the
Yeah.
to the average human being, they'd be like, why do I have to see this girl pace around? But I know that's like, no, like, we want to. This director wants us to see her changing her mind, wrapping her mind around the
Mhm.
situation, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things I appreciated about the film, and can sort of transition into this, is the commentary about entertainers in Iran, specifically women. I thought that was probably the most powerful part of the film, because everybody you talk to was telling this entertainer herself, yeah, no, like, we don't like those people. They're fine for now, but they end up um, back, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really powerful because, in America, that's very prestigious. It's a very prestigious thing to be an entertainer, and you're looked at almost as an idol. But you see in Iran, especially with women, it's kind of looked down upon unless you actually make it there.
Yeah, and like, I think also with American standards versus Iran standards, there's a huge difference in culture differences in what we believe is to be made. Like, we think someone who, is on the cover of a movie is to be made, but and maybe in Iran culture, like, because probably this main actress, she had been on the covers of films and stuff like that, and she does. I'm assuming these characters play themselves, because the names that they go by are the names that they go by in real life. I'm assuming it's just them in a scripted situation. So with that assumption, if she had been like as famous as an actress as they hyped up to be, there had to have been something. There had to
She
have been
is.
something for them to change their opinions on acting.
I looked her up actually, and she's been in a lot of films. So
Mm-hmm.
she is herself a famous actress in Iran. So I thought that was interesting how I liked that they played themselves. I think it made it more real.
Yeah, and I also think another thing that plays differently is the reason why, because there are some people that you come across in the movie that are like, they know who she is, and you know I think a big part of the religion, of their religion, plays into how they view actors and really just actresses at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Because definitely between their culture and American culture, their culture is a lot more conservative when it comes to the portrayal of women.
Yeah, I agree. And you kind of get that sense when Not so much you meet the girl's mother. The girl's mother, the one who commits suicide in the movie, is sort of like, yeah, well, she wanted to do this, but we said no, and she runs away. But her brother is like freaking out the whole movie. You don't see him where he's not screaming or yelling, and you realize it's because if this girl goes to do that, and if they let her pursue her dream, her family is kind of looked down upon in the village, and they mention that at some point, like.
Mhm.
People gossip, they say. So you kind of get the sense there that it's not just what this girl wants, it's more of a collective thing. Like if she goes to do that, her family sort of suffers. And then she apparently her fiance's family wouldn't like that either. So, you kind of get the sense that like women have more of a responsibility to not only like themselves, how they portray themselves, but also to their families. So there's not a lot of individual choice.
Sorry about that. We had to do a little cut because on my end the audio went out. But Savanna, what was the thing that you were saying in between when I couldn't hear you?
No, I was just kind of trying to make up for the fact that you weren't here. So I just said Three Faces is definitely an educational film. It taught me more about what was going on in that culture. And I think if you want to learn about, Iran and even like sort of how the film industry is different from here and there, I think it's a great film. I think I learned a good amount. So, Stephanie, what do you think?
There were two things I did want to mention.
Yeah, of
One of
course.
them was the honking that they do, like when they're on this little road. They have to honk, the cars have to honk because only one car can go on this road at a time. I
Hmm.
have been in a similar situation. My family in Puerto Rico lives in the mountains,
Oh
and
gosh,
the
we're gonna talk
road
about Puerto
leading up,
Rico.
yeah, the road leading up, you have to do that. So, as much as they're like, oh, yeah, you just need a honk, it's absolutely terrifying because you can't see, especially like theirs was a little more like out in the open. You could see the road. But in a
Hmm.
Puerto Rican rainforest, essentially, it was terrifying because there's trees covering, you can't see anything, and you're literally going up a mountain. So I feel like they downplayed the actual fear that I have had in situations like that.
That's so funny. For those of you who don't know, I do live back and forth between the States and Puerto Rico. And when I tell you driving is the most terrifying thing there, like I've been in situations where like it's all merging in Puerto Rico. So you're going 60 miles an hour on a highway and you have to merge. And people are really aggressive there. So Stephanie, when you were saying that, I was just getting flashbacks. Um, but anyway,
So the
um,
last thing I wanted to say, and I don't know even know how to lead into this. I'm about to mention something dirty, so please, anyone out there, cover your religious ears.
so
What was
me,
that foreskin story?
I didn't. Okay, so I feel like it was just to talk about the culture, and I don't really know what it was. I feel like maybe they just wanted to talk about like I don't. Maybe it was meant for us to feel like, oh, why? Yeah, but I
I mean,
agree. I don't.
surely, like the actress kind of was like, "What?" Like, I feel like the actress, it feels like the actress, at least from our perspective, because we are American, we live in Florida. Um, it felt like this Iranian actress was almost an American being put into a Iranian town. So like what because she kind of was like she kind of had like the same reactions as if like I was visiting this town.
I think it's to portray like she's a movie star, so I don't think she would live in a village like that. So I did like that feel. I did like knowing like okay, not only are we just learning about this, or we a little like she is too. So I agree with you. I really like that aspect of the film too.
And just to clarify, so the whole foreskin conversation, for those of you who have may not seen the movie or just choose not to see the movie, there's a whole like 10-minute conversation on how in a certain culture they take a boy's foreskin and they put it in a little baggie, and the godfather is responsible to bury it in a location. And pretty much, if you bury it in a graveyard or if you bury it in a prison, a prison field, like, or anywhere near prison, you're just summoning bad luck onto that kid. But typically a good godfather would want to like put it in a college courtyard. Like, could you imagine seeing like going to school and you're like, what's that? And you just see foreskin on the floor in the courtyard.
Well, here's the thing. I've heard it's not only the Iranians. I've heard that a lot of people, like a lot of cultures, do keep the child's foreskin. It's not uncommon. I don't know about burying it. I feel like that is definitely maybe exclusive to them. But I've heard a lot of just people in general, they keep their kids' foreskins. I don't know what for, but like
I've heard about like people taking the umbilical cord and making it into a vitamin. I personally don't agree, but I mean, to each their own. But like,
so basically, when I was a kid, like, you know how you go on play dates and the moms kind of hang out. So I was on a play date and the mom and my mother, I believe, or maybe I don't think it was my dad, I think it was my mom, were like looking through like their baby photos, and then in the photo album there's the kid's foreskin.
Like photoed or like just dangling in there?
No, like it was in a Ziploc bag. And my mom, at 7 years old, I remember my mom like, oh, like you kept it? And this lady goes, yeah, for memories. And when I heard of that story, I just thought of that woman. I don't remember her name, but I remember it was like the first grade, and my mom does bring up that story every so often. So,
oh my God. I don't know why that reminds me.
Yeah, I don't know.
That reminds me, like that type of, that reminds me of one time when I used to have nosebleeds a lot as growing up. Like I used to just be a faucet of blood from my nose. Like it was so bad. And I remember, because like I was good spirited. I had good intentions. I took all my bloody tissues and I put them in a bag.
Ew.
And I was like, Mom, you can donate my blood. And my mom was like, that's not how it goes, sweetie. But yeah, I vividly remember going like, oh, then what am I supposed to, if that's not how you donate blood, what am I supposed to do with this? And then me pulling out a bag of just bloody tissues.
Ew, Steph, that's gross. Okay, wait, I just want to say, we're not trying to disrespect anybody's culture here. Just so you guys know, it's not like we're making fun of, like, if that's somebody's custom, I'm sorry. We're just, I mean, like, that was the first time we heard that. I mean, I've had experience.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. But hey, at least you weren't a kid who almost buried some bloody tissues. So, I mean, you guys have some rhyme or reason for, burying the foreskin. I didn't have rhyme or reason to save my bloody tissues. So it's okay. It's all good here. But overall, I think it was a cute film. It's so weird to say it was a cute film. Meanwhile, suicide is like a huge topic for like the first hour of the film. It's like the
film industry. It's very serious topics, but it was done in such a simple way. And I feel like the last half of the film is where it kind of lost me. So I do feel like saying it was, it was fine. I think that's fair.
What's your rating?
I don't want to go too low, but I don't want to go too high. It's in between a 5.5 and a 6.
I was thinking like 6.3. That feels good. 6.3 resonates.
Where do you get these decimals from?
It appears to me like a vision. Like I feel like a little sense in my bones, and then I just see it spelled out in my head. Am I okay?
You have like a sixth sense with movies. No,
it just like if I had said given this movie an 8, something like in my body's like no, like you don't feel that way. So like I don't know. I guess it's kind of like a physical reaction of like me just finding my truth. I promise I'm not a hippie.
All right. No, if you'll give it a 6.3, I will give it a 6 because I do feel like a 5.5 is too low for what the movie wanted to say. So 6 from me, a 6.3 from Stephanie.
And there you go. That is it. That is 3 Faces. If you guys wanted to know, check in with us next time and we will be reviewing
Hunters, the TV show. It is on Amazon Prime if you guys do want to check it out beforehand.
10 episodes, 10 hours, bang it out in a week. You guys got a few days. you're staying at home anyways. Come on.
Yeah.
Unless you are a first responder, then I salute you.
Yeah. You guys are awesome.
So I don't know where Stephanie's going, but yeah.
No, this is one of our favorite shows that we've seen in a while. So, of course, we have to talk about it.
Yes. So please go watch it and come back and join us. Even if you can't watch it in time, just keep the little file in your little save folder.
I promise it'll be an entertaining episode.
It's just going to be me drooling over Logan Lerman the entire time, but whatever.
And the other guy we'll reveal later.
Don't start me up now. Save it for the review. All right. Thank you so much for listening, guys. Take care.
Bye.